Hi everyone, welcome to our first summer story time. This summer our theme is Imagine Your Story, and we're going to be reading some folk tales and fairy tales. Folk tales are stories that are retold and passed down over generations. They often include animals acting like people, exaggerations, lessons, and characters that use their bravery to solve a problem. One type of folk tale is the fairy tale. They often include magic, good versus evil, fantasy characters like elves and fairies and giants, characters that use their magic to solve a problem, kings, queens, princes, and princesses, and they often have happy endings. Do you have a favorite fairy tale or folk tale? Mine is Sleeping Beauty, but don't worry, even if you aren't a big fan of princesses, we have some great stories, and I'm sure you're going to love. Let's get started. Our first story today is one I'm sure you've already read. It's called Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a kind and helpful girl named Little Red Riding Hood. She lived with her mother in a cottage at the edge of a forest. One morning, Little Red Riding Hood's mother said, "Oh, Little Red Riding Hood, your grandmother isn't feeling well. Would you please take her a basket of food?" Soon the basket was packed, and Little Red Riding Hood was ready to go. Don't those grapes look good? As Little Red Riding Hood was leaving, her mother gave her a warning. "Be careful in the forest and beware of the big, bad wolf," she said. And Little Red Riding Hood went on her way. She had not gone very far before the big, bad wolf appeared. "Hello, little girl," said the wolf. "Where are you going?" "Oh, just to my grandmother's with this basket of food," said Little Red Riding Hood, and off she went. Little Red Riding Hood soon came to a clearing in the forest filled with flowers. "How pretty," said Little Red Riding Hood. She knew that her grandmother loved daisies, so she picked some and put them in her basket. Then she continued on her way. Little Red Riding Hood skipped through the forest until she came to a big oak tree. "Oh, look," she said, "what lovely acorns! I'll put some in my basket. You never know when they might come in handy." With the flowers and the acorns in her basket, Little Red Riding Hood continued on her way. Little Red Riding Hood was wandering along, and by she came across a bear with a huge pot of honey. "Hello," said the bear. "Can you help me pour this honey into my jars? You can take a jar with you if you do." So Little Red Riding Hood stopped to help the bear. Then, with the flowers and the acorns and the honey in her basket, Little Red Riding Hood skipped off through the trees. Finally, Little Red Riding Hood arrived at her grandmother's house. "Hello, Grandma," she called. "I'm here with a basket full of nice things." "I'm in my bed, my dear," called a voice through the door. Is that her grandma? Let's find out. It was quite dark inside the cottage, but Little Red Riding Hood thought her grandmother looked a bit different. "Oh, Grandma, what big ears you have," said Little Red Riding Hood. "All the better to hear you with, my dear," came the reply. "Oh, Grandma, what big eyes you have," said Little Red Riding Hood. "All the better to see you with, my dear," came the reply. "Oh, Grandma, what big teeth you have," said Little Red Riding Hood. "All the better to eat you with, my dear," said the big bad wolf. He had been disguised as Grandma all along. And with that, the wolf jumped out of the bed and chased Little Red Riding Hood around the room. Quickly, Little Red Riding Hood reached into her basket. She took out the flowers and waved them under the wolf's nose. The wolf sneezed and sneezed and sneezed, but that didn't stop him for long. So Little Red Riding Hood reached into her basket again. She pulled out the acorns and threw them on the floor. The wolf skidded and slipped and skated all over, but that didn't stop him for long either. So Little Red Riding Hood reached into her basket for the last time. Ooh, what does she have left in there? She took out the jar of honey and threw it all over the big bad wolf. "Yuck! I'm covered in sticky honey," yelped the wolf. Just you wait and see what happens next, said Little Red Riding Hood. The sticky honey smelled so delicious that a swarm of bees flew in through the window and chased the wolf out the door. The big bad wolf ran down the road and was never, ever seen again. As soon as the big bad wolf was gone, Little Red Riding Hood unlocked the cupboard. And out jumped Grandma. Little Red Riding Hood laid out the delicious fruit from her basket. Then she and her grandmother had a wonderful feast, and they both lived happily ever after. The next book is called How to Grow Happiness. Warble threw through the garden of wonder into Jerome's open window. I brought you something special today, she chirped. Jerome examined the tiny black seed resting on the window ledge. What kind of seed is that? Asked the curious inventor. Warble smiled proudly. It's a seed of happiness, she declared. Jerome, being a collector of treasures and trinkets, was very interested. He reached for a glass jar on the shelf and emptied the contents into his hand. I will trade you this bit of red yarn for that seed, he said to his small friend. Warble looked pleased. That yarn will be perfect for my spring nest, she sang. Thank you. She scooped up her new treasure and flew away. Jerome dropped the seed into this empty jar. He sat at his table waiting to feel happy. When nothing happened, he tapped impatiently on the glass. Jerome became frustrated and shook the jar. The tiny seed bounced up and down, but Jerome didn't feel a hint of happiness. He turned to Okie, his pet acorn. I think Warble gave me a broken seed, he grumbled. A broken seed? Where? Said Matilda as she brushed through the door. Beamer, the robot, followed close behind. Jerome showed his jar with the seed inside to his friends. It's not broken, insisted Beamer. He pointed to his solar panel. It just needs a little sun to work, like me. He could be right, said the squirrel. Jerome agreed. He took his jar outside, placed the seed on a rock in the hot sun, and counted to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He sighed loudly. I'm still not feeling happy. Neither am I, snapped Sir Surly. You woke me up from my nap, and that seed of yours is getting too hot. It needs water. Oh, of course, Jerome said to the turtle. Why didn't I think of that? He tossed the seed into the pond. Good heavens, cried Sherwin Wigglesworth, inching his way towards the shore. That's not that much water. What kind of animal is he? The worm climbed up on the rock. I know a thing or two about gardening, he boasted. Your seed needs dirt, but not just any dirt. Dirt with eggshells, coffee grounds, and banana peels. Jerome smirked. Who knew a little seed could eat so much? He fished the seed out of the pond, then covered it with dirt and his morning trash. Aroma joined the circle of friends. What is everyone looking at? She asked. Warble gave Jerome a broken seed of happiness, and we're trying to fix it, Matilda explained to the skunk. We tried sun, said Beamer. And water, said Sir Surly. And dirt, said Sherwin. But I still don't feel very happy, Jerome complained. As a matter of fact, I'm feeling angry with Warble for taking my red yarn and giving me a worthless seed. Oh dear, whispered Aroma, accidentally spraying her scent. Aroma didn't care for unpleasant situations. They made her nervous. Glinda, the butterfly fairy, fluttered over to the troubled group. You all forgot something important, she chimed in. What's that? Asked Jerome, feeling more discouraged than ever. Love. The best things always grow from love, she said, disappearing over the bramble bush. Jerome thought about what Glinda said. He suddenly felt compassion for this tiny, helpless seed who must feel lonely buried beneath the heap of dirt and trash. I'll be right back, he told his friends. Jerome returned with a jar filled with his favorite stones. He placed the stones around his makeshift garden. There, Jerome smiled. I must admit, I'm feeling a teensy bit happy. Jerome tended to his seed every day, making sure it got just the right amount of sun, water, food, and love. He watched a short green sprout grow into a long green vine. And as the vine grew, his happiness grew and grew until one day, Friends, Jerome called out cheerfully, come quickly. Jerome's friends gathered around him. Look, he exclaimed, pointing to his garden. The tiny black seed had grown into giant green watermelons. Oh, yum, I love watermelons. I'm sorry I ever doubted you, Jerome apologized to Warble. It's okay, said the bird. Sometimes growing happiness takes a little hard work and patience. And sun, and water, and dirt, and love. Don't forget the love. The friends laughed and enjoyed a summer picnic in the Garden of Wonder. They each went home that day with their own seeds of happiness. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next week, okay? Bye-bye.